good morning everyone. Welcome back to Dublin as the campaign in the historic referendum vote on whether to relax Ireland's strict abortion laws reaches its climax today. At 2 p.m, all reporting on the campaign is banned until the polls close at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. We're going to discuss that in more detail. We are hearing that there could be an exit poll at 10:30 tomorrow evening. That is yet to be confirmed, but we will definitely know for sure by tea time on Saturday which way Ireland has voted. Before that, here to discuss it in more detail is the Executive Director of Amnesty International Ireland, Colm O'Gorman, and also Sarah Louise Mulligan, Chief Executive of the website Irish Who Love President Trump. I think we know which way you're both going to vote. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Ladies first, make your case.
Well, my name is Sarah Louise Mulligan. I'm an Irish citizen. I'm very proud to be. First of all, we must realise that if abortion is legalised in Ireland, it's going to have detrimental effects on Irish women. 97% of babies who are aborted has been proven in statistics as discussed on RTE. I think this will be detrimental if it's brought into my country. Our country is extremely conservative. We're known to be a country of baby lovers, not baby killers.
Extremely conservative?
Yeah, we are extremely conservative.
First country in the world to accept gay marriage?
Yes.
Accept divorce even though you're a Catholic country?
Yes, I actually vote for gay marriage myself, so, you know.
Not that conservative then?
Oh, well, I do think Ireland is still very traditional and very conservative, and I do believe the vote no will win, because there's obviously still a lot of religious people here who are, you know, elderly people who will...
Is it a matter of religion, Colm?
No, not at all. It's a human rights issue. But, I mean, critically, what we need to acknowledge is that abortion bans like the 8th Amendment don't stop abortions. As we're standing here today, another 9 to 10 Irish women and girls are getting on Ryanair flights to England to access abortion care in another country, in your country. Another 3 to 5 are importing abortion pills and using them at home without medical supervision, illegally, facing a possible 14-year prison sentence if they're prosecuted for doing so. So the 8th Amendment doesn't stop abortions. All it does is it forces women and girls into having less safe abortions. So, I mean, well over 170,000 Irish women and girls have travelled to England and Wales over the last number of decades to access abortion care there. And whether a woman is pregnant as a result of rape or incest, whether a child is pregnant, whether a pregnancy is a risk to her health, whether the pregnancy has a diagnosis of a fatal fetal abnormality, under Irish law, that woman cannot terminate that pregnancy. And if she does, she and the doctor who've done so have committed a serious criminal offence.
14 years, we know. But do these hard cases justify relaxing the law for everyone?
I think, first of all, you know, this notion of hard cases has been pulled in by the other side in this debate as if somehow abortion isn't always a difficult decision for a woman to make. A woman who chooses to end a pregnancy has always got a reason for doing so. The idea that she should have to be dragged through some validation process to justify her decision, the idea that women have to experience appalling trauma and suffering in order to be able to decide whether or not they should continue with a pregnancy that is a crisis for them and their family for whatever reasons, is obscene. That's why this is a human rights issue.
Okay, my background is in psychology, and, you know, women are 6 times more likely to commit suicide. I actually have friends...
Okay, generally you mean?
Sorry?
Generally?
Yes,
okay.
They are 6 more times likely to commit suicide.
What does that have to do with them being pregnant?
Well, I mean, it's the trauma of having an abortion. That's why I don't want to see abortion being legalised here.
Actually, there is a link between pregnancy and suicide and mental health.
I'm glad you agree with me there.
I do indeed.
Thank you.
The maternal death study here in Ireland found that suicide is the most significant cause of death in women prenatally or postnatally in Ireland. So suicide, mental health impacts, negative mental health outcomes are absolutely linked to pregnancy here in Ireland.
To the Constitution, wasn't it? So that if women are likely to commit suicide because they are pregnant, they can legally have an abortion.
And there is a process that women have to go through where they might find themselves before 7 different groups of professionals through a series of appeal panels if they want to be able to access a legal abortion under those grounds here in Ireland. And the no side to this campaign violently resisted the idea that abortion should be available to a woman whose life is at risk because of suicide. And just recently, in our parliamentary process, where this referendum was recommended, you had one of the leading politicians and one of the leading lights of the No campaign trying to further restrict the law so that women whose lives are at risk because of suicide would no longer be able to access a legal termination in Ireland. That's the harsh cruel thinking behind the No campaign?
Okay, the harsh, cruel thinking behind the No campaign is that 97% of babies in the UK who are healthy are actually aborted. We don't want
That's nonsense.
Well, that's the
not
truth.
true.
you
You're saying that
basing
only
that
3% of pregnancies in the UK end in a live birth.
At the end of the day, we do not want a liberal regime of
Where did those
abortion.
figures come from?
Well, Mary Butler was on RTE, and she actually stated that.
It's not true. I mean, it's patently obvious that 97% of pregnancies in the UK do not end in abortion. That's just nonsense.
Okay, if we look at Women Hurt, like this was a campaign and an agency set up for women who have had their lives destroyed because they've had abortion. You know, this is set up to help women go through a whole psychological process of killing their child. You know what I mean? It has a devastating impact on a woman's well-being, and they deeply regret. I have never ever met a woman who has regretted having a child, but she has regretted having an abortion. We do not want this Hitler regime of abortion, and it's a money-making thing as well.
Hitler regime of
So
abortion.
first of all, 3% of women who terminate their pregnancies regret their decision. And we don't generally outlaw and make illegal for everybody any decision on the basis that somebody might regret it. And where women do regret that decision, they need and are entitled to and should get every possible support to help them to address it. But the overwhelming majority of women who choose to end a pregnancy describe feelings of relief and well-being following the termination of that pregnancy. And that's in every single meta-analysis that's been done. Abortion regret, we all regret decisions that we make, and choosing to end a pregnancy is a significant decision. The problem that we have here in Ireland is if a woman chooses not to continue with the pregnancy, she doesn't have time to think about and reflect and discuss that decision with her doctor. She doesn't even necessarily have time to discuss it with the people she knows and loves in her life because of the shame and stigma that's attached to the issue. Instead, she has to find plane tickets, she has to navigate childcare, she has to navigate the access to the UK health system in order to have a termination here. That's completely unjust.
Colm, I have personal friends who have had abortions. Now, because I have a background in psychology, they speak to me, and they are suicidal at this moment in time because they've had abortions. If they could turn back time, they wouldn't have had an abortion. So everything you're saying there is not true.
We don't outlaw decision-making for a whole group of the population because a small minority of people might end up regretting a decision.
It's not a small minority, I'm sorry.
I'm not minimising the impact of that on those individual women. What I'm saying is they deserve every possible support, but 97% of women, the overwhelming majority of people who have abortions express feelings of relief and believe that the decision was right for them.
Women shouldn't have to have an abortion.
I agree.
They
we should avoid crisis pregnancies.
Yeah,
we should avoid crisis pregnancies, which is why part of the package which is why part of the package of solutions that are being put in by government here are better sex education in schools, access to contraception, things that the leading lights in the No campaign have resisted for decades in this country and still
doesn't believe that a woman and a child are two patients. He just believes...
No, he didn't say that.
Yes, he did say it actually. Yes, he did.
No.
He says he just looks at the woman and he ignores the unborn child inside.
What he said was, and I don't often find myself defending our Prime Minister or our leaders of our political parties,
right.
But what he actually said was that he doesn't believe that from the point of conception, the unborn are entitled to the same rights and have the same value, and that's an awful phrase to have to use, but the same value
it's extremely awful.
as his born sister. The idea that an embryo from the moment of conception has equal rights and equal value as a born woman has caused catastrophic harm to thousands of women in this country.
You advocate for human rights, but you ignore the human right of an
No.
unborn child.
No.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You do.
No, I don't.
You want to murder an unborn
Oh,
child.
dear heavens. Well, I mean, if the debate descends...
has never sinned in its life.
If the debate is going to descend, Lucy, if the debate is going to descend to references... Sorry, Sarah Louise, I haven't never met you before, so I don't know you.
I did
But if
the
debate is going to descend to references to Hitler and to murder,
it's a Hitler
I think we're
regime,
finished.
Definitely.
She still has her point of view, and
she does, but I think references.
Entitled to her
she is perfectly entitled to her view, but there are
that you don't appreciate
yes,
but there are women out there watching this show
who have gone through very difficult decisions in order to end their pregnancies. There are women who have ended much wanted pregnancies because of a diagnosis of fetal abnormality. And I'm sorry, but I won't stand by. I won't stand by and see those women being described as murderers.
So you think all Down syndrome children should be murdered?
I don't think that's acceptable language. I think it's obscene language, and I think it needs to be called out.
The point that
oh my God!
Just make your point again about Down syndrome.
Down syndrome children. Do you know that in the UK, 90% of Down syndrome children are aborted?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, they are, Colm.
So in the UK, you're very light on facts in this. In the UK, 90% of pregnancies where there is a final diagnosis of Down syndrome are indeed terminated, right? My point would be that you want a regime that forces Irish women and girls to travel to the UK.
Nobody's forcing women to travel to the UK.
You seem to be horrendous. You want to maintain a legal order in Ireland that does not allow us to put in place our legal regime here. And for the avoidance of any doubt for viewers, abortion on the basis of disability is expressly prohibited under the laws that the government are proposing.
In Portugal, abortion is used as a form of contraception.
No, we're not.
I know, but we have to go by these statistics.
Fascinating debate. I'm terribly sorry, but we have to leave it there.
That's
Thank you both very much indeed for joining us on Sky News Sunrise this morning. You can see very strong views on either side of this debate. The country is indeed polarised. It really is too close to call the polls open 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, closed 10 o'clock tomorrow night. We should have an exit poll very soon after that. By Saturday tea time, we will know whether or not abortion is likely to be legalised here in Ireland. Stay tuned for more.